Only 5 athletes have ever won more than 8 gold medals. Michael Phelps holds 23. On 13th March 1996, Thomas Hamilton shot dead 16 pupils and 1 teacher, and injured 15 others, before killing himself. The British were so upset that gun laws were changed, making gun ownership significantly difficult. This was the last school shooting, ever, in the United Kingdom. Princess Diana's grave is isolated on the island in the middle of an ornamental lake, and not open to the public. In 1943, Congressman Andrew J. May revealed to the press that US submarines in the Pacific had a high survival rate because Japanese depth charges exploded at a shallow depth. At least 10 submarines and 800 crew were lost when the Japanese Navy modified the charges after the news reached Tokyo. Roads in Turkey after the 7.8 earthquake. Alexander the Great was likely buried alive. His body didn't decompose until 6 days after his declared death. It's theorized he suffered from Guillain-Barré syndrome, GBS, leaving one completely paralyzed, but yet of sound mind and consciousness. A woman battling breast cancer married the love of her life on December 22nd, just 18 hours before passing away. The couple wed at a hospital chapel in Connecticut. Ferdinand Waldo Demerara Jr. pretended to be a naval surgeon during the Korean War and performed over 17 successful operations before he was exposed for being an imposter. This is Dr. Donald Klein, a fertility doctor who illegally fathered 94 children. He discarded donated sperm and replaced it with his own. He served a 1-year suspended sentence for his atrocities. US still spends more on military than next 9 countries combined. Tagging and blood tests for bison. Just to give you an idea of how big they are, this male weighs around 3,000 pounds. In 2015, Jimmy Carter was diagnosed with brain cancer. In 2019, he broke his hip at age 95. During that same year, he fell at home requiring 14 stitches. Despite his injuries, he showed up the next day to help build houses for Habit for Humanity. At age 98, he still remains an active volunteer. 4 types of tigers in the same photo: golden tiger, snow white tiger, Bengal tiger and white tiger. 14th President Franklin Pierce ran over an old woman in 1853 on horseback while possibly drunk. He was arrested shortly after and was as quickly released from custody when he revealed his identity as that of being president. These are the last known photos of Michael Rockefeller, 1961, pictured with a New Guinean tribe known for cannibalism. Michael disappeared without a trace during his 1961 New Guinean expedition, and his body was never found. George Washington, if he was alive today. One of the last photographs of Lenin with his sister and one of his doctors, May 15, 1923. The 79th floor of the Empire State Building, after a B-25 bomber crashed into it in 1945. CIA interrogation specialist Dr. Cleve Baxter invented the polygraph lie detector and decided to test it on a plant in 1966. These are his results. Nobody has been able to reproduce since. SAS soldier ran through gunfire to save dog shot after it helped kill a sniper. The dog was sent in to flush him out following projected laser dots. The sergeant carried the dog 50 yards and stemmed its blood on a helicopter. The dog survived. The apparent trajectory of the Chinese spy balloon hovering over Montana. In 1975, the CIA revealed the existence of the heart attack gun. It was a battery-operated gun that fired a dart of frozen water and shellfish toxin. Once inside the body, it would melt, leaving only a small red mark on the victim when it entered. Autopsies would reveal the death as a heart attack. Granddad won first prize for biggest leak at Sandwell show. The Michelin Man is white is because rubber tires are naturally white. It wasn't until 1912 that companies started mixing carbon chemicals with the rubber to make bulk tires. This process is not an aesthetic change, but a structural one, making the tires stronger and durable. Railroad in Turkey after the earthquake. The creator of the popular cartoon Shrek, William Steig, drew his character from the professional wrestler Maurice T.I. The real prototype knew 14 languages, played chess brilliantly, and despite his frightening face and great strength at first glance, he was a very modest and friendly man. Generation Z, I present you the good old 28 disk to install Windows 95. The Nokia fossil. My local Pizza Hut's dining room is being used for storage. The days of families dining in for the buffet are long gone. It's carry out or delivery only. Sign of the times. There is an abandoned city in Turkey called Burj Al Babas. It contains over 500 empty castles. The American unemployment rate now sits at 3.4%, a level not seen since May of 1969. Located at a bar in Shinjuku, Japan, there is a bathroom with a giant head located in front of the toilet. Activated by the pressure from the seat, the face sings a strange drunken tune and slowly moves towards you, making the room smaller and smaller until its lips kiss your knees. The winning sand sculpture of 2019's Texas Sand Sculpture Festival. Wealthy Egyptians in ancient Egypt slept with neck supports instead of pillows to preserve their hairstyles and keep them looking fresh. In 1825, painter Samuel Morse received a letter which read that his wife was sick. The day after that, a new one said that she was dead. When 2 days later he went to his wife, he discovered that she was already buried. Pissed off for the slowness of communications, he invented the Morse code. The remains of a female vampire, pinned to the ground with a sickle across her throat to prevent her returning from the dead, were found during archaeological work at a 17th century cemetery in the village of Pin in Poland. Scientists from MIT recently discovered the secret to the longevity of Roman concrete. What were previously perceived as impurities in the concrete are actually lime clasts in red that self-heal the concrete. Mike Judge moved to Texas and a storm blew off a part of his fence. After his new neighbors fixed it for him, no questions asked, it became the basis for King of the Hill, about neighbors who, ultimately, do the right thing, and do right by people, and are basically good people. When Michael Jackson granted Weird Al Yankovic permission to do Fat, a parody of Bad, Jackson allowed him to use the same set, built for his own Bad, a video from the Moonwalker film. Yankovic said that Jackson's support helped to gain approval from other artists he wanted to parody. Weird Al Yankovic, eat it. She was 11 months old when planes were invented, 11 when World War I started, 36 when World War II started, 74 when Star Wars released, and 116 when Cupid 19 started. And her name was Kane Tanaka, who was the world's oldest living person at age 119 years. She was born on January 2, 1903, and died on 19th April 2022. Humoral is a folk term in Italy referring specifically to men of retirement age who pass the time watching construction sites, especially roadworks, stereotypically with hands clasped behind their back and offering unwanted advice. The view from inside a cello. Wife and I are restoring a farm to production after it was retired in the 1960s. Check out some of our progress in the first 3 years. I was wondering how you could describe color to a blind person, and after doing some research, I found these answers, and it's so fascinating. Red. They had me stand outside in the sun. They told me that the heat I was feeling is red. They explained that red is the color of a burn from heat, embarrassment, or even anger. Blue. They put my hands in their pool. They told me that sensation I felt while swimming, that omnipresent coolness, that's blue. Blue feels like relaxation. Green. I held soft leaves and wet grass. They told me green felt like life. To this day, it is still very much my favorite color. The world's oldest tattoo shop has been in business since 1300, run by Razak's family in the old city of Jerusalem. President Andrew Jackson had a pet parrot named Pole that would curse profusely, and at Jackson's funeral his parrot cursed so much that according to Reverend William Menifee Normand people were horrified and ordered the bird's lack of reverence. At 1.2 million ton ballasted in the tow, 472 meters tall, with her underwater concrete structure at 369 meters and dry weight 656,000 tons. Trolley platform is the largest object ever to be moved by man across the surface of the earth. 2,000-year-old Roman aqueduct in Turkey, made from stone blocks, managed to transport water from sources near village of Islamla at 680 meter ASL over a distance of 23 kilometers to Patara at 50 meters ASL. Aqueduct comprises 5 bridges and a stretch of pressurized conduit, an inverted siphon locally known to Likama. The ceiling of Keshava temple in Somanathapura, India. The construction of the temple was completed and consecrated in 1268 AD. A lab culture grown from the handprint of an 8-year-old after playing outside. Staff from the Eviction Commission of India returning after conducting a local eviction in a small village in Himalayas. India requires voting booths within 2 kilometers of every registered voter. This means some poll workers trek for days through mountains and jungles to just for even a single vote. John Astin adopted Scene at about 2 years old. When he was born, Patty Duke had been in a relationship with a man named Michael Tell. But there were also rumors that his father was Deasy Arnett Jr., who she had a fling with. His mother told him later in life that his bio father was Deasy. About 10 years ago, he decided to find out for sure through DNA testing. His bio father is Michael Tell. He maintains relationships with all 3 of his families. This is a Cercis canadensis, also known as Eastern redbud. Its leaf shapes, positions, and color graduation gives the effect of being out of focus. Apartment balconies in Macau seen from the street. Cave pearls in Carlsbad Cavern, New Mexico. The pearls are formed by a concentration of calcium salts that form concentric layers around a nucleus. Office life before the invention of AutoCAD and other drafting softwares. Before 1982, engineers' drawings were done by hand. Nowadays architecture designers and other drafters are mainly using a computer. Illustration of how much air and water there is on Earth. The water bubble contains water, including the water locked in ice, floating in the atmosphere as water vapor, and hidden in aquifers underground. And the air bubble contains all air above the planet at 1 atmosphere pressure. Albino sea turtle, 1 in 10,000 chance of being born. Jim Lewis and Jim Springers were twins separated at birth, adopted by 2 different families. As kids they named their dog Toy, as adults their children James Allen. Both became sheriffs and married women named Linda and as second wives Betty. They met each other at 39 years old. High school students in Pleasanton, Texas work on a project together. Fall of 1957. That year, the town had overwhelmingly voted to desegregate its public schools. The integration was entirely peaceful, shocking the press, and contrasting dramatically with the ongoing Little Rock 9 situation. 1989 Plymouth Voyager 3 concept. The fungi Xylaria polymorpha is also commonly known as dead man stingers. The engine of the car this piston came from was flooded with water. Because water doesn't compress, it completely bent the piston. The Rolls-Royce Ghost soundproofing was so over-engineered that occupants in the car found the near-total silence disorienting, and some felt sick. Acoustic engineers had to go back and work on harmonizing various sounds in the car to add a continuous soft whisper. The Nazca aqueducts were built in the 3rd to 6th centuries to bring water to one of the most arid desert climates in the world. It's still in use today by the inhabitants of these valleys. The Animal Welfare Board of India has issued a notice to celebrate February 14th, a day celebrated across the world as Valentine's Day, as Cowhug Day. According to Wikipedia, this is a Stone Age bearhead gavel from Paltamo, Kainuu, Finland. Santa Cruz del Islote is the most densely packed island in the world. Up to 1,200 inhabitants live in 155 houses in an area the size of 2 soccer fields. The air pollution in Mongolia. Indian Ashok Leyland stallion truck of the Ukraine Armed Forces. No official news have been made about the purchase/transfer. The US Department of State Consular Affairs page on Somalia. Draft a will and designate appropriate insurance beneficiaries and/or power of attorney. Discuss a plan with loved ones regarding care/custody of children, pets, property, belongings, non-liquid assets, collections, artwork, etc., funeral wishes, etc. Share important documents, login information, and points of contact with loved ones so that they can manage your affairs. If you are unable to return as planned to the United States, find a suggested list of such documents here. On December 10th, 1997, Julia Hill climbed a 1,000-year-old Californian redwood tree and she didn't come down for another 738 days. This is Jane Baptist Kempf, the creator of the VLC media player. He refused tens of millions of dollars in order to keep VLC ads free. Thanks, Jane. This homeless man's rabbit was thrown over a bridge by a passerby, and he immediately jumped into the river to save her. He won an award, was given animal food and a job, and the passerby was charged with animal cruelty. Early in his career, Sylvester Stallone was so low on cash, he was forced to sell his dog, Butkus, for $40. When he landed Rocky, he bought the dog back for $15,000 and gave him a role in the movie. A Dewey is a secured village in the Netherlands specifically for people with dementia, where they can act out a normal life while being monitored and assisted by caretakers in disguise. Amid a drought, the Dinosaur Valley State Park has discovered dinosaur footprints that have historically been covered by water and sediment. They date back more than 113 million years. Alice Roosevelt with her dog Leo. She smoked cigarettes in public, chewed gum, placed bets with bookies, rode in cars with men, stayed out late partying, and kept a pet snake named Emily Spinach, which she often wore wrapped around one arm and took to parties. Her father, President Theodore Roosevelt, once said of her, "I can either run the country or I can attend to Alice, but I cannot possibly do both." 1902. Robin Williams was one of the first people to visit Christopher Reeves in the hospital after the accident that left him paralyzed. He came in dressed as a doctor with a thick accent and told Reeves he was there to give him a rectal exam, causing him to laugh for the first time since the accident. In 1663, the partial fossilized skeleton of a woolly rhinoceros was discovered in Germany. This is the Magdeburg unicorn, one of the worst fossil reconstructions in human history. Back in 2017, a 10-year-old Florida girl fought off an alligator attack by sticking her two dingers up the 9-foot-long beast's nose, which forced the animal to open its mouth to breathe. As it did so, the little girl freed her leg and escaped. She had learned the trick from Gatorland. This is Elliot Tanner. He just finished his degree in physics and math. He'll be starting his PhD in the fall, becoming one step closer to achieving his dream of becoming a professor. He's 13. Paparazzi photographer Ron Colella would wear a football helmet around actor Marlon Brando after Brando once sucker punched him, broke his jaw, and knocked out 5 teeth in 1973. Some farmers in Bangladesh have switched to raising ducks instead of chickens because during catastrophic floods, ducks float. In the United States, they have dedicated sniper nests to watch the crowd at large-scale events. This has also been confirmed by Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones. While filming Pirates of the Caribbean in London, Johnny Depp received a letter from a local 9-year-old girl who asked for help with mutiny against her teachers. Depp turned up with no warning at the school in full Jack Sparrow outfit, but advised against mutiny.